Vulnerability builds trust, trust underlies connection, and connection is why we are here. Yes, that's right. Love and connection is why we are here. I'm going to do the daily dose today around the paradoxical power of vulnerability. Let's dive in here. It was 2010 when Brené Brown got on the TED Talk stage. She's a University of Houston social scientist who shared her TED Talk. Last I checked, it was one of the most watched TED Talks ever. I think there was over 50 million views. I'm going to put a link in the description below. If you haven't watched that TED Talk, highly, highly recommend it. Every time I watch that, there's new insights, and invariably, there's also a tear that comes to my eye. It's a very heartfelt, deep dive into the human experience, the human condition. She, again, struck a major chord in our culture. And let's talk about why that and why 2010, perhaps, that's when social media, the ubiquity and ideas started to travel so widespread here. And I also think that, the mistrust comes to mind. And I know right now in 2026, we're at all-time highs of mistrust in our government, mistrust in the medical establishment, in our educational institutions, and that the vulnerability, as this mistrust grows, this vulnerability is going to be inversely growing, the currency of vulnerability. Because we're going to get to a point, especially with AI, and I think that all of the people that I follow and really trust, they I think we've hit an inflection point with AI. It's going to get really, really fast, and there's going to be more of these videos and fakes and this and that. And we're really not going to. It's going to be just a freaking mess of, and it already is, but it's truly going to be challenging to who do we trust, and what's real. And so that goes back to what's real is the good stuff from the heart: vulnerability, honesty, speaking our truth, being authentic, being brave, being courageous. And as humans, we're wired. We've got hundreds of thousands of years of evolution to be wired to feel that and to sense that courage, and how that's going to equate to deeper levels of connection, deeper levels of intimacy, deeper levels of collaboration, for all aspects of life, for our healing journey, for our romantic connections, for intimacy, connecting deeper on a deeper heart and soul level with our romantic partners, for expanding our service impact and the work that we do with our clients, for scaling our service impact, for priming prosperity pathways. That trust underlies all of that. And so again, speaking from the heart, and I think, tying this to psychedelia, microdosing and macrodosing, is that, the best way that I can describe microdosing is 3 to 5% more empathy, 3 to 5% more courage, 3 to 5% more self-awareness. The high dose is, completely cracks us open. I've talked in depth about my experience with ayahuasca and getting into my nervous system to heal a childhood trauma and all the heaviness on my heart and resentment and pain, and via the high dose and the high dose with psilocybin. And these experiences, they open us up. And the microdosing, I believe, with the practices, can be just as powerful as the macrodosing. And we start to see our blockages. We start to see more clearly our masks. We start to see what's getting in the way of authentic connection. I know for me, it was back in 2013 when I started having some of these psychedelic experiences. I could see how disconnected I was. And I could see that the masks that I had built as a child to protect myself were no longer adaptive. And they were the very same masks that I was now seeking to break down. I had that realization, like, geez, the more I follow our societal rules and definition of success, the sicker I was getting. So then that drove a lot of curiosity of what is in the way, and how come I can't connect with my intimate partner or intimate partners on a deep heart and soul level. and I felt like something major was missing. So that started and catalyzed this journey, the spiritual quest and spiritual journey, healing journey that I've been on, that has ultimately led to this service initiative and me writing a book, Worth the Fight. You can find that at worththefightbook.org. And I built my coaching business off of Worth the Fight. And at this point, I've guided over 200 people through my Magic and Microdosing mentorship program. So it's been an absolute labor of love to pay forward the grace of plant medicine healing and to help people embrace vulnerability and to be raw and real with themselves about where they might be missing the mark. And so they can have those tough conversations with loved ones. This path, the path of psychedelia, so often polarizes. It's going to potentially push people away, but it also has the potential to bring people closer. And which I think is a good thing. Life is short here. We blink and it's all over. And so living life fully and having deep connections, deep experiences along the way, and trying to, veer away from superficiality. And again, I think that the vulnerability helps us do that. The microdosing and the macrodosing and the practices will help us get in touch with what is on our heart. I think that when we're meditating, we're quieting the monkey mind. We're quieting the societal programming and conditioning that we've all been subjected to. And in doing so, we can start to hear the whispers of the heart. I know that might sound a little bit romantic or hokey or cheesy, but I believe that to be true. And I believe that's what we're doing when we're meditating. And the poets have been saying for thousands of years, the heart knows. So we're getting into stillness, we're connecting to our breath, we're down-regulating our nervous system and tapping into the wisdom of our heart. And that is informing our steps. What can we let go of? What are the conversations on our heart? What's longing to be shared? What is our work to do? Why are we here? These are the big questions that come up when we're in meditation or a deep breathwork session, or maybe taking a microdose and we're out in nature and we're out in the forest, or at the beach and just feeling so much peace and clarity and quiet and stillness. So here we are again. It's 2026. Mistrust is grown to all-time measures in our culture, every aspect. So this is my heartfelt plea to you to embrace vulnerability, see how it works for you, and to speak your truth and to speak what's on your heart. And of course, we want to have discernment with this too. And sometimes there's strategy. There's a time and a place to say things. And I've come to realize, big lesson the last few years, just because it's true, it doesn't mean that it necessarily has to be said. And because everything that we do might have consequences. So if we're putting something out there, or we're sharing something, there might be some pushback, there might be some backlash. And so being mindful about that, because we are social animals, social creatures, and we live in community in relation to our brothers and sisters and our family, our clients, etc. So having discernment, of course, is very, very important when it comes to speaking our truth. And I think that that's the very reason why we journal our thoughts, so we can get clear and we can see the path ahead and we can map the path ahead. And is now the right time? Or do I need to refine my thinking? Do I need to have more strategy or more of a basis or more clarity around whatever that next move might be? So hopefully you found value in this daily dose. From my heart to yours. Again, more on the Worth the Fight mission and message of hope and healing. Check out worththefightbook.org. We'll see you tomorrow. Love and peace.